So, one of the bigger pieces of news in the British basketball world this season has been the opening of the Newcastle Eagles Community Arena in the northeast. The 3,000-seat venue, 2,800 fixed and another 200 that can be put in on the floor for extra big games, opened up in January of 2019 and is complete with cafe, bar, offices and corporate and training facilities. We've heard for years that one of the things holding back the sport in this country is the lack of clubs owning their own venues. And Newcastle Eagles owner Paul Blake, who is the sort of brainchild behind this project, has been one of the biggest proponents of clubs owning their own facilities, and finally that dream has become a reality. So we've got Paul on the line today to discuss how the project has been going. Paul, thanks for joining us. We're 6 weeks into the project. You've sold out 3 of your 4 home games. How would you assess? What would your evaluation be of the opening of the arena and the facility so far?
It's been an absolute whirlwind, Sam. To be fair, it's 6 weeks. It feels like about 3 days. And we've had, goodness knows how many different events coming through the building. Massive learning curve in terms of operation of food and beverage, car park, just all of these types of new elements to the business that we've never really had to deal with before. So, and in all of that, we're working out on the weekend. We think we're about 17,000 visits in 6 weeks across a whole bunch of different disciplines and sporting activity to inflatable park this weekend, Friday, Saturday. So there's just been all sorts going on.
Has it met the expectations of what you thought it would mean to the club and the difference that it would make?
Yeah, it's very hard to put it in words because it's just so different to what I'd expected. We worked up to a point, 24th of December when we took the building over practically, and then all of a sudden that's the end of that chapter, i.e. everything to do with working with the constructor and making sure the bits and pieces are in the building that we need, and then all of a sudden it's just flipped. And we're in this complete new world with lots of things we do understand and a bunch of things that we don't understand, and a whole bunch of new income streams and new maths in a lot of respects in terms of what it is that we were expecting and trying to work out whether these areas are profitable or not. And it's still very early days in a lot of respects. How many new staff do we have to bring in, etc., etc. So, to answer your question, I think where we are at the moment, yes, we're definitely better off than where we were. Just a whole number of new challenges.
Would you say at this point, compared to your initial revenue projections, is it where you expected it to be, or have you had to change them at all?
I'll be honest and say we haven't had time to change anything yet because we are literally working 7 days a week. In terms of Eagles events, it's pretty much where we thought it would be. And we know what we need to do in order to get secondary income streams up. Very, very much. It's stating a bit of an obvious fact, really. The more people in the building, the higher the spend is. I was once told that there's a bit of a plateau with that, but we haven't seen that. So the 3 games that we sold out, obviously, we took a significant amount of money on all areas of secondary spend, whether that be in the hospitality area or in the main area for the season ticket holders and the larger part of the audience. So there's that. There's the balance of that against the staffing need, and if you've ever been to a bar and wonder why there's not enough staff on behind the bar and why it takes so long to get served, I know the answer to that now. I didn't 6 weeks ago. So it's just a new set of, if you like, a new set of formulas to work with. But in terms of are we better off, there's no question. And in terms of profile as well, and in terms of numbers of full price tickets that we've been selling this last 4 or 5 weeks compared to historically, we're way ahead.
With all the sellouts so far, what do you expect your average attendance to be over the course of the season? Do you expect to continue selling out, or do you think that's gonna plateau? And where do you expect your average attendance to be over the course of the year?
I think we've had a hiatus this first 4 games, and I think we've got 7 coming up now in March and April. I have a feel that it will plateau, and we'll be back to a little bit where we were before. But the difference for me now is how we take the additional income that we're generating and actually turn that into a marketing budget that we possibly never had before. Make better use of the roadside frontage that we've got at this venue, and the millions of cars that are passing every year, to get our message out better. So, we're trying to get a digital advertising display on the side of the building. We need planning permission for that. It was initially rejected, but I think everybody's starting to understand now that this is an events arena. It's not just a basketball venue, so it's actually a necessity to have that sign on the side of the building. That in itself will help our marketing hugely if we can achieve it. So it's things like that, really.
When you talk about the differences now in comparison to selling out Sports Central to Newcastle Eagles Community Arena, what would you say the difference is between the two? What is the actual tangible difference between in your bottom lines between being in your own arena now compared to where you were before?
So just in terms of basic ticket revenues, these first 4 games, I would say I'm going to say we're 30 to 50% up. So the first game obviously being a sellout, and no real reduction on tickets, no free tickets, was our biggest revenue generating game we've ever had. And then add to that the secondary spend income, and add to that the car park income, which is in itself is a new revenue stream, 300 parking spaces that we've never had to sell before. So there was a multiplier effect in a lot of respects for that, in particular that first game. And actually game 4 was the second biggest generating game. So 50% up on those 2 games and 30 on the other 2, there or thereabouts, thinking it through. That in itself is pretty much helped us to do our target for this year. Even if it does plateau now, we'll have a reasonable year. So, but it's who knows? Who knows? I didn't see that coming. I thought, there'll be a hiatus here where we generate some good revenues and then it will flatten. But I didn't think it would be 4 games worth.
In terms of the brand, the big thing of having your own arena, do you feel like you have been perceived differently at all by fans and or media as a result of having your own arena?
We've always had good media coverage regionally anyway, and that's not changed. It's certainly heightened prior to the first game, and I think in itself that spike in media attention locally would have, no question, would have helped the ticket sales. It's how we continue to keep that engagement, particularly with the local TV. The press have always been firmly behind us, and the TV, to be fair, is a job for us to find time and focus to be more proactive, and that's a resource issue. That's getting more people within our organisation ready to pick the phone up to the local press to do something more, think up more ideas and be more PR proactive with the press. Unfortunately, these things, you're working with Times and BBC, they will take half a day to do a set of morning interviews, whatever it may be. Where we are right now, do we have the time and the focus to do that consistently? Not as much as I'd like us to, but I think once we hit a groove here, we'll be doing that a lot more. And bottom line is, everybody knows where we are now. We're on a main arterial road into the city. It's the main road up to the football ground from the A1. People that didn't know who Newcastle Eagles were, and possibly still don't, when they read Newcastle Eagles on the side of the building, will go and find out. It's just, you can just see it will have a multiplier effect. The other events that we're bringing to the venue as well will be key to that, and the more new people that just come into this building, regardless of what the event is, are going to go away knowing who the basketball club are.
And then finally, we've heard so much about this talk about going into Europe, especially from the Eagles. And now that you've got your own facility, is it something that we could see happening next season?
I'll never say no to next season, but I think we've got a lot of work to do the next 2 or 3 months before we make that decision. And equally, we're we've got to be competitive. We're there or thereabouts, I would say, but moving forward, it's I don't believe it's going to be a handout to get that nod to go into Europe. And right now, London are top of the league, so followed by Leicester, and we're playing catch up a little bit. So equally, my understanding, my feel still is that FIBA particularly are very, very keen to have one or more than one British team in European competition. So I think the opportunity will be there if we're ready to go for it. Do I think it's for next season? I just see a massive amount of work in front of us right now and a lot of learning to do before we make a jump. So I'm not going to say no, but I would say realistically it's season after.
Perfect. Thanks, Paul. That's Paul Blake, Newcastle Eagles owner, giving us his thoughts 6 weeks in to their own facility, Newcastle Eagles Community Arena, which opened in January of 2019. What do you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. Obviously, this is a new format we're experimenting with, topical points of discussion hosted by me with guests. By all means, let me know what you think, and if you've got any suggestions of other topics that you'd like to see us explore. And of course, if you're not already, make sure you get subscribed to Hoopsfix. We've got tons of content coming in the British basketball space. That is our focus. That is our niche. That is what we're trying to do here. So yeah, get subscribed and let us know what you think in the comments below.